it is time for our next fireside chat. Not one guest, but two guests this time. And the topic for our chat is how can regulators embrace open banking? So to help us get through this, we're going to be joined by Mr. Steve Kirsch, who is the CEO of Token. Steve is the inventor of the digital mouse and another serial entrepreneur. Steve's going to explore the opportunities and the challenges for open banking and how his company Token is enabling banks to access open banking. Steve, come on up first of all. Steve's going to be joined by Thomas Blood. Steve, grab that chair there if you want. Thomas Blood, who's an enterprise strategist at Amazon Web Services. He leads on efforts to support enterprises that are adopting cloud solutions across, well, this region, Europe as well, Middle East, African regions. He works with companies who are moving their digital operations into cloud. He's described a transition from an information age of computing and data to a digital age of cloud computing. So, Thomas, come on up. Come and join us. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on stage. We bandy around the word, we throw out the word open banking. So can I just ask you, because I think there could be some people here, and I think it's a message we have to get out to the wider public as well. What is open banking?
So what we have today, when we talk about open banking, we're probably talking about PSD2 and access through what are called AISPs and PISPs. And the reality is that that actually isn't open banking. That is slightly open banking, or SOB, S-O-B for short. And the reason I say that is because only qualified third parties that have to go through a process of certification are allowed to access these APIs. Now, a truly open banking system would be that the bank services are open to everyone, to any of the customers, and not just limited to a few qualified companies. And that openness should go both ways, in that as a third-party developer or as an individual, I should be able to access banking services, but also it should be that the banks could offer or could access third-party services, and all of this that we're talking about can be done without any changes or integration. So all of these applications that you see on the exhibit floor out there, these take months or years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to integrate even a single application at the bank. Now imagine if you had true open banking that they can write to one API and those applications would work at every single bank that supports true open banking, and vice versa. That is going to be transformative. That's what open banking is. Today, we have just the tip of the iceberg called slightly open banking.
Okay, thank you. So while we're on definitions and just clearing things up, because it is funny when you talk to the general public, and especially of a particular age group, and we talk about cloud computing. And they're like, well, wait, but where is it? Where is it? So give us your definition of cloud computing.
Cloud computing is really the ability to leverage and utilize systems and technologies in a pay-as-you-go kind of way. You only pay for what you need, and when you no longer need it, you can release it back into the pool of available resources. And they're essentially hosted in what we call regions, so Bahrain being one of the regions for the Middle East. We have 20 regions worldwide, and each region offers up the ability for you to consume services, infrastructure services, compute, storage, but also higher level services on demand as you need. And basically, you can integrate, to your point of open APIs, right? You can integrate the services through API calls, so the integration with these services and systems is really easy to leverage and to utilize to build your own value-added propositions on top of it.
Okay. Why are you here? Not at the conference. Why are you here in Bahrain?
So it's funny, because I was just at a very large Bahrainian bank yesterday, and they asked me the same question, which is, why are you here? They said, you know, we're a small country, you're only going to get these number of transactions, and you're not going to make any money. Why are you here? and I looked at them and I said, I am here because this is the most exciting place in the world for me to be. And the reason is that in order to really bootstrap this or get this open banking infrastructure started, you have to have a regulator which really understands that open banking is not just about compliance. It's not checking the box to say, yes, do you have these APIs? It's enabling software developers to go and be able to interface to the banks. It's creating a great user experience and creating a great customer experience for corporate users and for developers. That vision, it's the being able to leapfrog what is being done in other countries and a regulator which truly understands that, hey, we want Bahrain not to just be equal to what's being done elsewhere, but we want to be the showcase. And so the idea is that if we're successful in Bahrain, that all the banks in the region will be able to leapfrog Alipay or any other competitor, anyone who tries to get into the market, and they don't have to do anything in terms of additional infrastructure to do that. They just have to get on open banking.
So when I was talking to the governor this morning, and I asked him about his legacy, he said, I didn't want to leave a legacy, but he rattled off, and I'm like, that's his legacy. So are they really leaps and bounds? You travel the world, you see...
No, it's set up. There's a woman at the Central Bank of Bahrain, her name is Yasmin, and she understands, she gets it.
Yeah.
And the central bank gets it. And to have a central bank which can align the banks behind the vision of true open banking, we've never seen that anywhere else in the world. And Bahrain has typically been the fintech capital of the Middle East. The Middle East is an extremely important corridor in the world. And so to have that opportunity, and what will the idea is what happens in Bahrain then can spread out to other countries in the Middle East and then spread out from there. So this is like being able to plant a seed where you actually have a regulator where you can work collaboratively. And if we need a change, it is a small room of people who can make a decision very quickly, as opposed to the EU, where if I make any kind of change, it will take years and years and years.
Yeah, good luck. Are you going to echo those same comments? Why is Amazon? Why did you place the cloud?
Before I go to that, I'm going to echo on this a little bit, because I completely agree with you that the enthusiasm from Bahrain and from the GCC to create an environment in which banking can be modernized and innovate freely is extraordinary. And it's a testament to you all that this is happening. But I think importantly, when I think about technology throughout the stack, if you look at software development, there's at the very at the infrastructure level, there's this discipline around DevOps. DevOps is about removing obstacles, about removing friction and impediments in the processes. When you go up to the agile framework of product development, agile, the similar idea, removes impediments in the product development lifecycle. And so at the regulatory level, it's that same idea again, especially here with the GCC, to look at how can we streamline, how can we simplify, how can we remove impediments so that banks can move forward with innovation and essentially reinvent the financial sector. The CBB has taken a great step forward. There are some things that are left to do, giving clear cloud-specific guidance to banks, for example, making the approval process easier. Instead of having to approve every workflow individually, maybe you go to a place where the banks can inform the CBB that they're moving workloads into the cloud, and then you validate after the fact, and you certify, and you make sure it's done correctly. So on the CBB side, that's what I would say.
Yeah, so now I was going back to, and that, would you echo, well, you already complimented everybody in the room anyway, which is why Amazon, you planted cloud here in Bahrain.
Exactly, so Amazon has been in the region working with you all for a number of years, actually going back to the very beginning of Amazon Web Services. And we recognized there was a great demand and an unmet demand in the region. And so when we looked at Bahrain, Bahrain had the preconditions, the kinds of things that we're looking for, commitment from the government to move forward and to enable innovation in the cloud, renewable energy access, an infrastructure that facilitates low latency for the whole region, and many other criteria. So you tick the boxes of all of those. And so we decided to come here to enable Bahrain and the region as a whole to leverage and benefit from cloud.
Steve, if I turn back to you, what should be done, needs to be done, I guess, make open banking a success?
Yeah, so I think that when we look at what's happened in the UK, for example, the banks were spending hundreds of millions of dollars and taking 3 years to integrate. We came to Bahrain, we worked with a system integrator here, and who was the first graduate from the Sandbox.
Oh, right, yes.
And they were able to integrate the first 6 banks in just 6 weeks. And they did it simultaneously. And that's incredible to be able to get up and running quickly. And so the difference...
But how did they do that?
The difference is what they used here was they took commercial off-the-shelf technology that was proven in other places that have been used at banks in many other countries. Once you have commercial off-the-shelf, you can deploy that much quicker than each bank trying to go and create something
Invent
that
the wheel.
Right. And the other thing is that they overspecified. Right? The PSD2 regulation's like 200 pages long, and you have another 200 pages of what's called RTS, which is the Regulatory Technical Standards. And this thing is like completely overspecified. And it actually is less secure because of the way they did it. If you look at the internet, which is the most successful technology ever, that wasn't spec'd at all by the government. The government, is a research project. And the way they got it off the ground was not to specify that you have to support a technology that does this, and here's 200 pages of spec. US government did to bootstrap the entire internet was very simple. They said, if you want a government grant, you have to be on the internet. And that was it. There's not 400 pages of spec. So my advice to regulators is do less. Specify that they have to have a qualified commercial off-the-shelf solution. And the reason for that is that if we have 100 banks, and all 100 banks have different APIs, they're all creating their own operating system. It would be like having a phone, and every model phone would have a different OS. Right. It would be a disaster for software developers who can only write to 1 or 2 operating systems. And it's a disaster for the cell phone manufacturers because the expense of creating that operating system is huge, and you don't have these economies of scale. So what you want is commercial off-the-shelf that has economies of scale where you can really put the wood behind one arrow, and that will reap enormous benefits for everyone, for the banks, for third parties, for consumers, for enterprise. So it will be transformative.
So for the dummies, i.e. me, I'm talking about, you just go, as a layman, you go, why, can you answer this? Why aren't others replicating?
They are. They're replicating what was done in the UK because that's all they know. They've never really seen true open banking, and that's why we're so excited about Bahrain, because it gives us an opportunity here to showcase what can be done if you have the right vision with a regulator who is supportive, with an EDB who is supportive, and everything is aligned to support leapfrogging what is, it's rethinking how you should do things. Things like payments, so we can make it like super fast and easy. Yeah. I mean, it's going to change everything. In a bank in Bahrain, and you go to China, that you'll be able to pay with the money that you have in your bank in Bahrain anywhere in the world, and you didn't have to install the infrastructure to do that. So, we talked about Alipay earlier. This is an opportunity for banks to really leapfrog over that technology and actually go ahead, leave Jack Ma in the dust.
Yeah. Wow.
To give you an example, the Starling Bank in the UK got their banking license in June of 2016, right? In 2018, they were voted one of the most popular, or maybe perhaps the most popular bank in the UK because of the user experience. So in less than 2 years, they went from nothing to a bank that's cloud native, right? That's integrated through APIs.
And they developed their own proprietary API instead of going on a standard API platform.
This has just come to my head with you rattling off the successes, if you will.
Yes.
So countries around the world, economies of central banks, not just in this region around the world, watching like Bahrain like a hawk and learning, I mean...
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, right? But they will. There isn't this enormous PR campaign coming out of Bahrain saying, hey, here's what we're doing. Yeah. Right, and the banks are not yet on open banking, so there's nothing to show yet, but there's a vision, okay? But in 6 months from now, that's when people start to look and say, whoa, take a look at what's happening here. Yeah. So we're in progress.
Okay.
And by the way, one of the things that I think is really important in this is, one of the themes here being inclusion and innovation, right, which I love, is this idea that when you remove the impediments, you can actually start now serving people that haven't been served before.
Right.
Yeah, so for example, in Africa, I picked a couple examples. There's a company called Zona. Zona is providing transfer, wallet, payment services for small, medium businesses. These are tiny organizations that, where their employees don't have a bank account. So how do you pay someone if they don't have a bank account, right?
So the way you do that, and there's an app that you can download today, And I have loaded it, and I don't know if you can
You're not going to
you're not
probably
gonna
be able to see that.
see that, but you can probably see
Yeah,
it.
that will zoom
So
in.
there are 12 different currencies here. And these are all the stable coins that you heard about before. JP Morgan Chase has one stable coin. We have 12 stable coins, including Jordanian dinar, Bahrainian dinar, so
So you
forth.
can be paid or pay out in all of these.
Today, right now, instantly, worldwide, and I don't have a bank in Bahrain.
No.
And I don't even need a bank account to do this. So this is the technology, and this is blockchain based. This is based on Stellar blockchain, which is environmentally friendly and Sharia approved. It's using the latest technology, and this allows us to make cross-border payments instantly, 24/7, anywhere in the world. And the bank doesn't have to worry about the compliance aspects.
Well, and then there's the whole point of removing friction in the process, right? So today, in many countries, when you set up a bank account, it could take hours to go through all the process, the paperwork, and proving identity and so on. So there's a bank in South Africa called Time Bank that has actually set up kiosks in pay and go stores, right?
Yeah.
And you just go to the store, you have your government ID card with an official ID number and your cell phone number, and in 5 minutes you create a bank account, you create a debit card along with it. It's frictionless,
Okay.
right? And that's what we're talking about. Get rid of all the friction out of all parts of the system.
But can I ask you this? Can I end with you? Because I did have the question down, how important your decision was to be here, but it's obvious.
It's,
right?
it's the same thing, right?
It's obvious.
You said it. This
Yes,
is going to be the center of
perfectly.
innovation for banking in the Middle East, period, right?
Okay.
And you will all make that happen.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to Steve and Thomas. Thanks, guys. That was great.